I'm not going to demand any apology from anybody. What I'm demanding is the return of assets.
The government has indeed given commitment that the proceeds of the looted assets upon recovery should be applied to Lagos-Ibadan Express-Way, Abuja-Kano Road, and second Niger Bridge.
Kafin wannan aikin ya zo hanyar nan a fara yi ana bige mana yara da mun sha wahala muna shan wahala.
We've suffered for this road. There are some days that we have to sleep on the road. The road is always jam-packed. That most of the times you can spend 3 days on this road just wanting to cross the bridge.
From this in Lagos State to Ibadan, sometimes it will take us 3 hours, 4 hours.
The history of asset recovery in Nigeria began with General Abubakar Abdulsalami when he issued a decree in 1998 to recover all assets alleged to have been transferred out of the country by General Abacha.
The interesting thing then was that Nigeria was able, through that particular or singular act, to recover more than $2 billion since 1998. Now, that is from the Abacha family. Based on assets that were traced to Switzerland, to Luxembourg, to United Kingdom, to United States, to Germany, to Northern Ireland. And immediately Abdulsalami Abubakar left office, President Obasanjo continued in that regard and then worked with the National Assembly to pass the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission Act, as well as the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Act. And so these two legislation at that stage helped Nigeria, again significantly, to begin to look at assets that were also within Nigeria that had been taken away. In most cases, remember that we're talking of public funds that were taken away from public treasury and then either diverted out of Nigeria or used in Nigeria. The most important thing, as the International Convention has set out, is that these funds must be recovered and returned to the victims. Now, victims could be the country because the funds were taken out of the federal treasury.
In the year 2020, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the United States of America, and the Bailiwick of Jersey signed a trilateral asset agreement to enable transparent and efficient repatriation of the $311.8 million looted assets for the benefits of the people of Nigeria.
In line with the term of the agreement, Mr. President has already approved that the funds be utilized for the ongoing Presidential Development Infrastructural Funds projects, namely Abuja-Kano Road, Lagos-Ibadan Express-Way, and the second Niger Bridge under the supervision of Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, NSIA.
So the total repatriated funds was $311.8 million, and it was apportioned across each of the projects, a third each. So just over $103 million was apportioned to each of the projects you mentioned. 3 projects, transformative landmark motorways projects. The first is Lagos-Ibadan Express-Way. It's about 127 kilometers. The second is the second Niger Bridge linking Anambra and Delta states. It's about 11.9 kilometers, 10.3 of which are approach roads and 1.6 kilometers of the actual bridge. And then the third is Abuja-Kaduna Zaria-Kano Expressway. It's about 375 kilometers.
The agreement between the government of Nigeria, the United States of America, and the Bailiwick of Jersey also stipulates that a credible civil society organization be appointed to monitor the utilization of the funds. Hence the appointment of CLEEN Foundation by the government of Nigeria through the Federal Ministry of Justice.
CLEEN Foundation is the monitoring CSO, partnering with the federal government, particularly with the Ministry of Justice, NSIA, and the American government to monitor the smooth implementation of utilization of the assets recovered, particularly the Abacha load on 3 major projects, Lagos-Ibadan Express-Way, second Niger Bridge, and of course the Abuja-Kano Road.
Samun problem ɗin go-slow da dogs sakamakon ba hanya, amma zuwan bega yanzu ta gyara shi, hanya yayi kyau, yayi smooth.
The Abuja-Kano Highway is a 375-kilometer dual carriageway that connects the north-central states of the FCT and Niger State to the northwestern states of Kaduna and Kano, and that is a very large population that are connected by that critical road asset.
I think this dualization of the roads makes the social economy to grow. Now, this our road, we welcome it. We have been eager to have it for a long time.
For Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, we have that broken into 3 phases: Abuja, Kaduna, Kaduna, Zaria, and Zaria, Kano. Phases 2 and 3 have also been substantially completed, more than 90%. On the Abuja-Kaduna side, substantial works are currently being undertaken by the contractor to further those along.
The second Niger Bridge, on the other hand, is a long overdue alternative for the east-west crossing of Nigeria. The River Niger connects the east of Nigeria to the western side of Nigeria. In the immediate environs of that bridge is an opportunity for connectivity between 5 eastern states of Nigeria and 6 western states of Nigeria. So you're connecting essentially 11 different states of millions of people. Before the undertaking of this project by the Buhari administration, it had been the much talked about alternative or undertaking to relieve pressure, especially at festive seasons when people go on holiday, travel east to west or west to east and beyond. And the crossing across the River Niger, which is under a 2-kilometer bridge thereabout, used to take something as long as 18 hours in very grueling connectivity undertaking. The reason is simply that the existing bridge, built in the 60s, has outlived its capacity to respond to the demand. The demand when it was built and the demand it is coping, the traffic demand and business it's supporting now, has exceeded its design capacity, although it's still functional and under maintenance. So the new bridge, which is now completed, has proven very, very efficient in solving that problem when we did a test run over Christmas. So what used to be an 18-hour crossing is now 30 minutes.
I must say this is the most strategic federal government project ever cited in the Southeast in the recent time.
I've been in this community for the past 9 years. My experience on this road before the project commenced is that this place was a thick forest.
It's a swampy area, always prone to waterlogged and flooding. The people who live there, they live well, like for 9 months. The other 3 months of the heavy rain, they are always dislocated, and then they move to safer grounds, and that makes them more impoverished because it is when they go back after their crops have been swept away by the rains that they start a new life again. And if they are not fast enough to remove their crops from the ground before the rains, they lose everything, including livestock, houses. Sometimes even lives are lost.
And in the past, we've had how people have spent the night on the Asaba end of the bridge or otherwise. So it's a project that will have a lot of lasting impact on Nigerians.
Actually, before we used to pay just to cross this bridge. We used to pay 1,150 just to cross the bridge. But now it's 300, 400.
Honestly, after the construction of this second Niger Bridge, the traffic has reduced and the insecurity has also reduced and all other things.
Once you leave your house wanting to cross the bridge, it's 40, 30 minutes or thereabouts, you pass the bridge. Other than the other days that you have to spend days on the bridge. So it's been awesome.
This road, is it the hold up we want to talk about? Or you can be in hold up for good 30 minutes, 1 hour. But now, at least, we are enjoying the latest development.
The Lagos-Ibadan, on the other hand, is the main crossing from the Lagos commercial center to many parts of the country. It's the road that connects you to the west and connects you to the south through Benin, and connects you to the north through Oyo, through Ogbomoso, to Ilorin, Jeba, and all of that. So it's a very critical road. Bearing in mind that Lagos is Nigeria's commercial capital, that road, I think, was built in between 1978 and 1981, thereabouts. It's a 127-kilometer road, and it used to take 1 hour to reach Ibadan. As it deteriorated, it used to be a whole day's journey. Families used to sleep on that road. And the progress that has now been made was divided into 2 lots. The first lot is kilometers 0 to 44, which has been finished. So that's essentially done. And then kilometer 44 to kilometer 127. All of that also has been completed up to kilometer 116 at the last check. So what is left is between kilometer 116 to 127, which is about 9-10 kilometers. And what is delaying that is a water channelization crossing project being undertaken by the Oyo State government to channel flood water out. And that is a very important contribution also. So the choice is build the road and open it up again, or slow down and let Oyo State finish so that you can, and we've decided to slow down so that we get maximum value for money. But even now, the road is in use, so what used to be a whole day's journey is now about 1.5 to 2 hours.
Because of this construction now, it has brought a lot of development, it has brought a lot of security. Before, there is no security, the economic factor, and even when it's come to property, there is a lot of development in that area.
Now, I enjoy. There's no hold up. When I enter motor, I will reach where I go. I understand, but before, when one trailer park on the road, you cannot see road to pass.
On a year there, go slow, man, money every time. Lojo Juma, ṣùgbọ́n adúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run. Lásìkò tá a wà yìí, tí wọ́n bá wa ṣe títì yìí, ọwọ́ adá ọyọ́ kùlùlù. Inú wa dùn gan. À ń lọ mọ́tò wọ ọ̀bàjẹ́, má bí ṣe máa bàjẹ́.
The benefits of infrastructural development have proven that a committed and transparent government can get a whole lot done and improve the lives of its citizens significantly.
I think these projects, as you know, have been in view for a couple of decades now. I think this administration, in coming on board and prioritizing the execution of these projects, have actually played a substantial role in its completion. I think the first thing is ease of transportation, movement of goods and services. First, value addition of these roads. Secondly, will be trade facilitation. These three projects across all the three major zones of the country will ensure that, a substantial amount of trade occurs in and around the country. I think the third will be health and safety, to the extent that you have roads that, are not fully formed, are not adequate for driving. A significant number of accidents occur, which at least could be put to bed with the commissioning of these projects. So I think health and safety is fundamental. Substantial amounts of job creation through the construction of these roads has been immense. Importantly as well, wealth creation. The corridors of these roads, their values would be substantially increased, and which would do good for landowners, which would do good for advertisers. So I think overall, beyond just the ease of movement and the fact that we have world-class roads being undertaken, you have a lot of incidental important benefits as a result of the actualization of these roads.
Mun yi murna daga mu har yan uwanmu iyayenmu gaba ɗaya don mun yi murna akan wannan aiki da ake yi.
I think this is the way for Nigeria to go. The common sense benefit of it all has been proven since the Marshall Plan. If you invest in infrastructure, you will see growth and you will see economic prosperity and you will see employment. So we've talked about Lagos-Ibadan from a whole day to 2 hours. We talked about second Niger Bridge from 18 hours to 30 minutes. And that story pervades largely the country now. Journey times have crashed significantly by almost 50% when we did the last study, I think in 2021 or so.
These projects are projects that translate into a multiple benefits to Nigerians without any restrictions. The road in the north is not restricted, particularly the federal highway is not restricted for usage and benefit to only the northerners. The bridge in the southeast is equally not exclusive for the use and benefit of a certain segment of Nigerian state. So taking into consideration the multiplier effect of this project, I think it is indeed not out of place to conclude that they are projects that have the capacity to affect Nigerians in general. And I think that is what makes them exceptional, and that is what makes the consideration of this project reasonable.
Kano zuwa Abuja, daga Abuja zuwa Kano, mu yan Zaria alhamdulillah muna jin daɗi muna godiya.
So by and large, what we have succeeded in doing in establishing transparency and accountability as it relates to the deployment or perhaps maybe utilization of the recovered asset are one, a legislative framework arrangement by having in place Proceeds of Crime Recovery and Management Act. Two, by way of ensuring that recovered asset forms part of a budgetary provision and appropriation by the National Assembly. Three, accommodation of the civil society organizations for the purpose of ensuring the transparency, the monitoring, and then four, the World Bank monitoring arrangement, all out of desire to ensure that the desired transparency and accountability are built into the management of recovered asset. And I think that has indeed paid off. Paid off in the sense that Nigeria has established a reputation as it relates to the management of recovered asset, and that now pave way and establish a foundation for seamless recovery over time.
The wisdom and the thinking behind bringing a CSO to be part of this process, because we're going to come with our expertise, we're going to represent the people, we're going to be the eyes of the people, we're going to speak on behalf of the people, we're going to ensure that the projects across board meet all level of implementation. We're going to ensure that people have feedback like what we're doing at the moment. We've had a number of press statements to conferences. We've had interface with CSOs. We've produced jingles. We have a functional website. All of these are the value that we bring to the project, that people have access to the information, people are able to see the contract terms, people are able to know how much, and people have idea the implementation level where the project is at every point in time. So I think this partnership have added value to the relationship between the CSOs and government. And the OGP, the Open Government Partnership, all about this kind of interaction, that government and CSO have a common ground where they are able to look at issues from different angles, but with a sense of responsibility and understanding and support for each other to ensure that at the end of the day, the common men and women, children, the age, and every other person benefit from that intervention.
What will I tell the government for bringing this memorable, monumental project to us is to commend them for using the taxpayers' money well. Is to thank Mr. President for knowing what to do at the right time.
Lagos-Ibadan Express-Way and the second Niger Bridge were supposed to have been financed by private capital. Those initiatives proved largely unsuccessful for many reasons which are not necessary here for our purpose. But what is important for our purpose is that it shows that if government commits its resources to projects, it can impact people.
CLEEN Foundation, the monitoring civil society organization, since February 2021 makes quarterly monitoring visits to the 3 project sites and equally engaged other civil society organizations and residents of the host communities to give day-to-day progress reports about these projects. This monitoring obligation has thus yielded results with key observations and takeaways.
Officially, we ensure that every quarter we visit the project location. And it's exciting to see that for every visit, there's an improvement. You know, from when the place where the land were being cleared to when lateral were brought, gravels were brought, I mean, heavy duty equipment were brought, culverts were made, bridges were built. I mean, you could see how things were put together. Again, you see the engagement of the communities around there coming to provide services and support. And I think that for us as an organization, we've seen the quality of work being done in terms of the width, the thickness, and all of this, and ensuring that those facilities are A-list, A-grade, top-notch, I mean, that will meet international best practices. So I think we've seen the use of modern technology in the construction of the second Niger Bridge. If you go to the second Niger Bridge and you compare the bridge and the old Niger Bridge, you know that life have changed over the years and technology is at its best. And I think that this is the kind of work we need to see, that even when projects are going to be given out, government should identify a good contractor with previous experience, people with previous knowledge that will be able to add some modern touch and bring about some civilization into the work without losing the quality of the work. So each of our visits has been very exciting in terms of the mileage that was achieved, what the contractors were able to cover, and the quality of work that we find on ground.
The government of President Muhammadu Buhari has put in place the necessary legislation and framework needed to ensure future asset recovery processes are transparent and seamless.
The institutionalization of the process of asset recovery has already been achieved. Achieved against the background of the fact that what you require for the purpose of establishing a process is legislative framework. And with the Proceeds of Crime Act 2022, that has been achieved. And then over and above the legislative framework that has institutionalized the asset recovery and management, we equally have tried to establish an international model, a model on account of which the civil society organizations are monitoring by the World Bank are components of such model. So all this, and indeed committing the resources to identify and ascertain project. So all this have added up to now institutionalize the asset recovery, both in terms of the process, in terms of the institutional framework, and in terms of disposal of the asset, and indeed accommodating the transparency and accountability aspect of it. So what I'm saying in essence already with the institutional framework was making the recovered asset part and parcel of our budgetary arrangement that calls for appropriation by the National Assembly, and indeed establishing a model which has international outlook of accommodating the civil society organizations, international outlook of having World Bank monitoring. I think the ground has now been adequately set for institutionalization of the transparency and accountability as it relates to the disposal of the looted assets.
I want to thank the federal government for the completion of this second Niger Bridge, and we are expecting them to do more.
The Process of Crime Act has given us very strong guidance on how to proceed. And what that means is that it has embedded some of the principles of international law in terms of management of stolen assets within the Process of Crime Act. Now, by embedding it, it means that we have institutionalized it, right? And so what we are looking at now is how to ensure that across law enforcement, prosecutors, anti-corruption agencies, that they understand how to apply that laws, the principles behind that laws. The principle behind the Process of Crime Act essentially is to make sure that stolen assets, when they are recovered, whether from within Nigeria or outside Nigeria, are used in a transparent manner. That is the underlying principle, that Nigerians will see that those funds that are taken away from public funds or public treasury are returned back, and that Nigerians can benefit from it. The Process of Crime Act have also given us an opportunity to not only to look at recovery of assets from a criminal prosecution perspective, it also provides for non-conviction based approach. Now, that non-conviction approach talks about situations where if an asset is identified and the owner is not available, has denied ownership, has died, the government can take custody of this asset and go to court and say, we identify these assets, we don't know who took it away, or the person who took it away is no longer there, is dead. We are seeking the order of the court to confiscate for and on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria. So what we have today, I would say, is remarkable and the watershed as far as the recovery of stolen assets are concerned in Nigeria.
In the words of the Minister for Works, Babatunde Raji Fashola,
if you invest in infrastructure, you will see growth and you will see economic prosperity and you will see employment.
We have to thank the government for taking this gesture to bring the development closer to us here.
Yes, I will thank government, then do well.
I just want to say thank you, federal government, for helping us. Thank you for bringing this bridge. Thank you for coming to our rescue.